You look cold, Mr. The autumn wind swept through the empty park, carrying with it the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of winter's approach. Streetlights cast long shadows across the weathered benches, creating pockets of warmth and the darkness that danced with each gust of air. On one of these benches sat Marcus, a man in his 50s whose expensive suit had seen better days. His shoulders were hunched against the cold, hands buried deep in his coat pockets. The fabric of his once pristine jacket was wrinkled and stained, telling a story he wasn't ready to share with the world. His eyes stared blankly at the ground, lost in thoughts that seemed to weigh heavier than the approaching storm clouds overhead. Marcus had been sitting there for hours, watching the world pass by in a blur of hurried footsteps and distant conversations. People walked past without a glance, each absorbed in their own lives, their own destinations. He understood their hurry. Once he had been just like them, rushing from meeting to meeting, always checking his watch, always somewhere important to be. That was before everything fell apart. 3 months ago, Marcus had been the regional manager of a successful marketing firm. He had a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows, a company car, and a salary that afforded him a comfortable apartment in the city's upscale district. But corporate restructuring had claimed his position, along with dozens of others. The severance package had seemed generous at first, but with no immediate prospects and bills that didn't pause for unemployment, his savings had dwindled faster than autumn leaves falling from trees. The apartment had been the first to go, then the car. Now, Marcus found himself spending nights in shelters when they had space, or on benches like this one when they didn't. The irony wasn't lost on him. He who had once donated to homeless charities now relied on their services. Pride, he had learned, was a luxury he could no longer afford. A soft rustling sound broke through his meditation on misfortune. From the shadows beneath a nearby oak tree emerged a small figure, moving with the cautious grace of someone who had learned to navigate the world quietly. It was a girl, no more than 12 years old, with tangled brown hair that caught the light from the street lamp above. She wore layers of mismatched clothing, a faded pink sweater over a striped shirt, torn jeans, and sneakers that had long ago lost their original color. In her arms, she clutched a small threadbare blanket that might have once been blue, her eyes bright and alert despite her circumstances. Studied Marcus with a mixture of curiosity and recognition. The girl approached, slowly, her footsteps barely audible on the leaf-strewn path. Marcus noticed her but didn't look up, assuming she would pass by like everyone else. Children, especially, tended to give him a wide berth. His unkempt appearance and the despair that clung to him like cologne seemed to make people uncomfortable, but this girl was different. She stopped a few feet away from his bench, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. For a long moment, they existed in the same space without acknowledgement, to souls seeking shelter from life's storms, each carrying burdens too heavy for their frames. "You look cold, mister," she whispered finally, her voice barely audible. "Above the wind, you can use my blanket." Marcus looked up, startled by the unexpected kindness. The girl's face was illuminated by the soft glow of the streetlight, revealing features that were delicate but weathered by circumstances no child should face. Her eyes held a warmth that contrasted sharply with the autumn chill, and in them, Marcus saw something he hadn't encountered in months: genuine compassion without judgment. "That's very kind of you," Marcus said, his voice rough from disuse. "But you need it more than I do." The girl shook her head, stepping closer. "I have lots of layers," she said, gesturing to her clothing. "Besides, sharing makes things warmer for everyone. That's what my mama used to say." She held out the blanket, and Marcus could see that despite its worn condition, it had been cared for lovingly. The edges were frayed, and there were several patches sewn with different colored thread, but it was clean and soft-looking. More importantly, it represented something precious in a world where possessions were few and far between. "What's your name?" Marcus asked gently, accepting the blanket with hands that trembled slightly. "I'm Emma," she replied, settling onto the bench beside him with the casual comfort of someone accustomed to making friends quickly. "I've seen you here before. You always look sad." Marcus wrapped the blanket around his shoulders, immediately feeling its warmth, not just from the physical comfort, but from the gesture itself. It had been so long since anyone had shown him such uncomplicated kindness. "I'm Marcus," he said, "and you're right, I have been sad. Sometimes life doesn't go the way we plan." Emma nodded solemnly, as if this was wisdom she had learned early and well. "My mama used to say that when one door closes, another one opens. We just have to be patient and keep looking for the handle." They sat together in comfortable silence. For a while, sharing the bench and the blanket's warmth, Marcus found himself studying this remarkable child who had shown more compassion in 5 minutes than he had received from the adult world in months. There was something profoundly humbling about accepting help from someone who clearly had less than he did. "Where do you live, Emma?" Marcus asked carefully, not wanting to pry but concerned about a young girl being out alone after dark. Emma's expression grew guarded for a moment. "Around," she said vaguely. "I'm good at taking care of myself. Mrs. Peterson at the community center makes sure I have dinner most nights." And there's a safe place I sleep. Marcus nodded, understanding the need for privacy about such matters. That's good. It's important to have people who care about you. Don't you have people who care about you? Emma asked, with the directness that only children possess. The question cut deeper than Marcus expected. He thought about his ex-wife, who had moved to another state after their divorce 2 years earlier. His adult children, who had their own lives and problems. His former colleagues, who had gradually stopped returning his calls. Not really, he admitted, not anymore. Emma reached into her pocket and pulled out something small and metallic. She held it out to Marcus, a tarnished silver key attached to a simple chain. This was my mama's, she said. She told me it was the key to new beginnings. Maybe you need it more than me right now. Marcus stared at the key, overwhelmed by the gesture. Emma, I can't take something that belonged to your mother. She's not coming back, Emma said matter-of-factly without bitterness. But she taught me that helping others is how we keep love alive in the world. Taking care of people was her favorite thing to do. With trembling fingers, Marcus accepted the key. It was warm from being in Emma's pocket, and he could see where it had been worn smooth by countless touches. Thank you, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. This means more than you know. As the night grew deeper, they talked about small things, Emma's favorite books from the library, Marcus's memories of his children when they were young, the different birds they had seen in the park. It was the kind of conversation that souls hungry for connection feast upon. Simple and nourishing. When the first drops of rain began to fall, Emma stood up reluctantly. I should go, she said, but you keep the blanket and the key, okay? And remember what my mama said about doors and handles. Marcus watched her disappear into the shadows, clutching the key and wrapped in the warmth of an unexpected friendship. For the first time in months, he didn't feel completely alone. Sometimes, he realized, help came from the most unexpected places, wearing the face of a child who had every reason to be bitter but chose kindness instead. The key seemed to pulse with possibility in his palm, and Marcus found himself believing, for the first time in a very long time, that maybe tomorrow, it might be different. Maybe there really were doors waiting to be opened, and handles waiting to be found as the rain began to fall in earnest. Marcus rose from the bench, Emma's blanket around his shoulders and her mother's key safe in his pocket. He walked toward the community center Emma had mentioned. No longer a man sitting alone in the darkness, but someone carrying the light of human kindness forward into whatever came next.